Coach Teresa Ford here, and this is the Guiding You Home podcast. This is a thought-provoking and often humorous approach to moving you closer to the only one who can genuinely help you live a life of abundance and prosperity. Sound good? Yeah, it's you that needs to go within so you can sit in the driver's seat of your life, co-creating with God. So make room for more light and knowledge. As you continue to listen, you will discover elements of how to lead with your inner light, how to act on your specific promptings, and how to follow your spiritual intuition so you can fulfill the measure of your creation. Thanks for being here, and let's dive in. Tara Camp, I'm so excited that you're here. I'm guiding you home, finding the confidence to go within. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you so much. It's so good to be here.
You're the retreat queen. You're the beach queen.
Thank you. Thank you. I didn't know this, but I love
the glow. Yes. You and I are new friends, and we shared something very personal with each other, and that is that we both have gone into these deep spiritual deep dives. There was a lot of isolation with that, and now we're both coming alive.
Yes.
We're coming out our cocoons with new wings. Tell me about your journey.
Oh my goodness, where do I start? I started this journey for a longing, and I had this longing inside of me that couldn't be satiated with anything, not new people, places, or things. And I had it for the longest time. Like, I would go out and hang out with people and I would feel lonely. But I still had like something was missing even when I was by myself. I didn't feel like I fit in anywhere. I didn't feel like I belonged anywhere. And so I started in a personal development, which, personal development is spirituality.
Yes.
And so that just took me down this rabbit hole of having these different spiritual experiences, and maybe even going down the rabbit hole a little too far.
Is there such a thing? I ask you. I'm not sure if there's, because you're going to go as far as you know you can, or as far as you know you need to.
Yeah.
And you needed to go deep.
I did. And I did go deep. I've come to this point where, I'm coming back into the world, and I do retreats now, and I do coaching, and the energy is fantastic. And sometimes there can be like a loss of words.
Yeah.
Because I'm so empty that sometimes I go into these deep states and it's hard to come up with something to say. I mean, I had an instant recently where I was trying to have a conversation with someone, and I was so deep in bliss that it was all I could do to like stay connected.
Yeah.
And I was having to try to distract myself to stay grounded. And, I wouldn't change anything for the world.
Right.
It's just learning to be okay with whatever's going on in any given moment, even if sometimes it's too deep.
I want to just bring some, normalize the loneliness that happens when you're looking for something that's going to fill your life and help you feel more like yourself. That there is this profound sense of loneliness that you don't really belong anywhere. And sometimes we avoid that, right? And how long did it take you from the time that you were could put words to it, that I am trying to belong to all these places and groups of people, but I just can't stop feeling alone?
Wow. I mean, it was pretty much my entire life until I woke up. And that was...
Thank you. Yeah. That normalized it, because I've done that too. I'm like, do I even belong anywhere?
Yeah. When I was younger, I dove into, when I started my college years and even a little bit before that, I smoked weed a lot to be comfortable in social situations. And then I drank heavily just to be able to hang out and feel normal. And now I know in retrospect, that just wasn't my party. It just wasn't my cup of tea if that's what I was having to do to fit in. But then I looked around me later on in life and I was like, nobody else spends as much time alone as I do. Like, what is wrong with me? Like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And so I actually tried to go out with new groups of friends, and I was like, I'm going to give it my all. I'm going to go and I'm going to try to hang out. I'm going to try to have fun. And it sucked, but it didn't in reality, because now I can hang out with anyone, and feel perfectly at home. Like I belong anywhere and everywhere.
Because you belong to yourself. That is what guiding you home is all about. is this is your home.
Yes.
And if you're trying to belong out there, it's never going to work. This is where you belong, and claiming yourself and your unique gifts and the thing you're here to do is the most important thing. That is our only job. Like we have one job and we try to avoid it because it's like, come here and belong here and, you know, show up this way and wear this thing. And we're like, but what if that's not sitting with me? I think the other thing is that we haven't made the distinction between being lonely and being alone. Like when you're lonely, nothing can fill it.
Right.
But when you're alone, you're home. Like you are, it's okay to be alone.
Right.
And like you said, you can belong or you can be anywhere as long as you belong here.
Yeah.
At home.
Well, fascinated enough during this entire journey, like over the course of my life, like I wasn't lonely when I was hanging out by myself. But I wasn't entirely at home either. Because again, I believe that when we do have this connection, when we are open-hearted and open-minded, and we're connected to our source, God, source, universe, whatever label someone chooses, is that it doesn't matter where we are, doesn't matter what we're doing. Obviously, there's certain circumstances, people, places, and things that accentuate our happiness. And the truth is it happens here first.
Yes. Yes. So can I take you back to your childhood? What was the conditioning that you received? Meaning, how did you perceive you in your childhood? Did you see yourself as belonging as long as everybody was smiling, you belonged? Or did you see that you had to become something for you to receive that unconditional love? Or like, what was it that led you to step outside your home and try and belong everywhere?
So growing up, I had a good childhood. Like it was, I would say average.
Okay.
My parents were fantastic. And I had an older brother, 3 years older, genius, valedictorian of everything. And it was obvious that, you know, he was the golden child. And I took on this identity of the black sheep. And then when I was, I think I was like 19, 20, my dad took me on a trip to Steamboat Springs, family vacation. And that was just a new world for me, like opening up to something like I just came to life. And I was like, oh my God, like there is a whole nother world out there that I've never seen or experienced. And there was something about snowboarding. I sucked at it. Like I was black and blue. I had bruises on my inner thighs. Like how do you even get bruises there when you snowboard? And so I had a taste of that. And then from there, I was on fire. So I went home, third year in college, packed up my car, moved out to Jackson Hole, Wyoming. And that's where Tara began.
Wow.
Yeah, that's kind of where it all started.
Okay, so your journey from Jackson Hole, Wyoming to where we are today, Phoenix, Arizona. I am so bad at location. I'm like, where are we?
Right? Where
did I land today? Time and location, we're not really necessarily connected. We're just, I am where I am. That's after the spiritual journey. Like, it's like, where I am is not important. Anyway, but between those 2 points, well, what would you say is the pivotal thing that took you into the spiritual place? And how did you know when to come out?
Wow. So I want to backtrack just a little bit because I explored a lot with drugs when I was younger. Just for, you know, a lot of people say, well, you know, I did drugs intentionally. I didn't do drugs intentionally, but I do believe that my soul was trying to get me back home. And I did have all these spiritual experiences in retrospect, like samadhi, you know, I won't go into the details, but all those experiences that can be provided through the use of psychedelics and whatnot. And I don't do anything anymore, haven't in a really long time. I'm a believer that you can access those states without anything. Because those are our natural states in a higher elevation. So what got me from Jackson Hole to where I am today? Oh my gosh, it's a blur.
Well, the pivotal moment that took you into the spiritual deep dive, what was that?
You know, I was flipping houses. I was flipping houses in Washington State. And I remember having this heart opening and I was like, it feels like I have a cat in my chest. Like it was the purring, right? The heart opening.
Wow.
And I had gone to bail my roofer out of jail.
Okay.
And that was the
I need
experience.
your help, so.
And that was the experience I had, I guess maybe like as a reward for doing something good. Who knows? But that was back in 2012. And then from there, that is right around the time I started going into personal development. And from there, I just absorbed all I could with personal development, spirituality. And I had this belief inside of me, and I had read it in a couple different places, that I needed to be done in order to be a spiritual teacher.
Yeah.
And that actually backtracked me probably a couple of years, because the universe is like, you don't need to be done. Get your ass out there. You're meant to serve. So I tried like meditating all day, and Source, I could feel it, like, because you can feel the energy. Source is like, no, girl, get your ass up and go serve. And so I finally, started doing more volunteer work, and that led me into doing retreats. But as far as like knowing when to come out, there's no coming out.
I love that. Well, you came out of isolation.
Yes.
I guess that's more maybe locational rather than spiritual, because you're never going to come out. You can't be the same person. You can't go back.
Right.
Once you do the spiritual journey, you can't go back.
Yeah. Well, it's wild. And I want to talk a little bit about that, is that this energy of Source and this connection, what it does is that actually renews us, as you know.
Yes.
Like from each and every moment it's renewing. And so, I do remember a little bit about yesterday, because we're here together.
Yes.
But for the most part, like, it's a renewal process. There's not a lot that I can actually go back to and access, because the energy just keeps us in the present moment. So that has been a challenge, like recalling or, trying to sometimes put sentences together or thoughts together.
I feel so validated.
In an intelligent way, but in my, and I watch what I believe, because I don't want it to form as a belief, but I've been working on this, because it does renew old memories. So the stories are recreated, or the stories are kind of just washed away. And so the lessons are retained so that I don't repeat the pattern. But for the most part, it's gone, and I can't really access a whole lot of it. And
wow.
Yeah.
You just put words to something that I've never been able to identify, because part of me, like, my childhood was crap. Like, it was the best childhood to get me from darkness to light.
Yes, same.
So it was hard, because love just wasn't being offered. It wasn't. But some of, like, I call the brain control Zilla, right? She's traumatized because of what she perceived was going on, that love wasn't for me, right? So sometimes I'm like, when people are like, so how was your weekend? I'm like, well, I have no idea. I don't know. And people are like, well, what'd you do this morning? Did I do something this morning? I don't know. If I were to list it out, I was very productive. I was doing things all day, even if it was meditating, even if it was doing a spiritual morning practice, even if it was, but people are like, so how was your morning? Did I have one? I don't know. Well, because I'm just right here.
Right. People like, weekend. How was your weekend? I'm like, was there a weekend?
Yes. I love that you have finally named that. I'm like, oh, I'm not the only one.
No, we're being held in the present moment. And, it's timeless, spaceless, and the past doesn't really exist, but that's for another podcast.
Yeah, totally. And we will be doing one. Just promising. Stay tuned. So I love this, because your spiritual journey, I think, and this is how it works collectively, that when you have a spiritual journey, you're called to do something. We're not called to do the same thing, but you're called to go inward and find the confidence to listen to that. So I do realize, coming out of my spiritual journey, I feel like a unicorn, in that I am built differently now. I'm not built to be anxiously attached. I'm not built to hope that other people approve. I don't follow the herd. I won't. I'm like, no, there's a better way. Right. And that better way will always come to me if I just sit with it long enough. And we also did some work this morning, walking up on the stage. And I also declared something that I declared before I went into a depression that led to even a deeper version of my spiritual journey, that I'm just like, you and I were like, I'm just waking up. I'm just coming alive. And when you get into that, when you can find the words now,
Mm-hmm.
when you can finally put the words to it, like standing on the stage, putting words to the claims I was making on the miracles I'm expecting, you can't go back. But I think it's the same in a spiritual journey. You know, you go into that, you're not trying to be what you once were, and you're not trying to go back and it's like, well, remember that time I really felt powerful and I really felt like I was, you know, something special. You're not trying to be that anymore.
Right.
Because you are a completely different person.
Yes, I love this. This is like, you know, it's ego dissolution, or it's, you know, and it's never gone. It's just transformed, right? So that lower self aspect of us that wants to be the negative Nelly or the criticizer or whatnot, the energy just completely wipes it out. And it doesn't mean that you have to be on board for it, because if we fight it, it continues. We have to be okay with being renewed, and we almost have to ask for it and doing processes and whatnot. And I think this is what, like in Buddhism, they call like non-doership, because now we're just, you know, we're vessels, and that's part of why, you know, we're just being guided in every moment to do whatever's appropriate. And yes, there is some pre-planning, especially when you have goals and targets, but it's also not attachment to those goals if things need to shift in one direction to take you to something better, which is usually the case. We have to be willing to surrender to that unconditional love, God, source, whatever it is, so that it can drive us to our ultimate goal.
So it's not the busyness and it's not the doingness.
Right.
It's not about doing, because that's exhausting. It's about being. And then you'll be guided to do the things you're here to do.
Yes, absolutely.
And so, okay, what is your one takeaway from doing a deep spiritual dive now that you're coming back and using your words? It's not just the knowingness anymore.
Yes.
It's actually sharing and using your words. What is the most important lesson about being Tara that you can share with us after doing a deep spiritual dive? So, because the podcast is about having the confidence to go within so you can access the knowingness of your nature. What is the one tip, either how to do it maybe, or even listening to the call and taking action on it?
So the process is really easy. I mean, obviously there's more than just one step, but one of the biggest things I teach is just going into the heart space and then opening up from there, and just being as open as we can, and just pretending as if you're breathing from the heart. And I don't think there's a mistake that the heart and the lungs are close by. And when I speak heart, it's more the energy center of the heart. And we have to have the confidence and the faith of risking it all, not having control of what's going to happen if we let go to this bliss, to this love, to this peace that we are. And guess what comes out when we have the confidence to actually go in? We acquire what I call Godfidence.
Confidence.
Because it's not me, but because I used to be very insecure, and now it's nowhere to be seen. And it's not because I faked it until I made it. It was, I did the processes. I asked for help. I'm a partner with Source, and I let everything flow from there.
That landed. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Tara. Thank you for being here. How can people get hold of you?
My website is blissandhappiness.com. I'm on Instagram and Facebook. I think just Tara Camp.
Awesome. And she does retreats.
And I do happiness retreats.
Why not?
Happiness from the inside out, of course.
That's right. Opening up that heart space. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Best 30 minutes of the day.
Yes.
Thanks for listening. I invite you to leave your feedback and share your aha moments as you listen to this podcast. Also, you can access more information or any of the programs, courses, or worksheets that I've mentioned on these episodes on my website at teresaford.life. Or what I would really love is for you to connect with me on Instagram at teresaford.coaching and on Facebook at Coaching with Teresa Ford, so I can give you more interesting insights and further coaching to help you fulfill the measure of your creation.